Hey everybody, I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince, and welcome to Mustang Prince Orro Reports. So, let's talk about Sophia the First. Ever since my first season, I've looked at almost every single special that the youngest princess of Enchantia has starred in, from the Floating Palace in 2013 to the Curse of Princess Ivy in 2014, which, believe it or not, almost killed off my series, no thanks to a false copyright strike. And while the series was mainly aimed towards younger children, I saw it as a cartoon series that even older audiences could enjoy too. Plus, I think the show went on from cute to becoming epic, fun, and amazing. Plus, I also got to look into other episodes and specials, like when Sophia became a storykeeper in the Secret Library, when she freed Princess Elena in Elena and the Secret of Avalor, when she journeyed to the Mystic Isles, and finally, after graduating from Royal Prep and defeating the evil Vor, Sophia became an official protector of the Everrealm. However, while I do think the show needs a sequel series, not too long after I looked at Princess Elena's TV finale, where Sophia and her family attended Elena's coronation, several commenters and subscribers asked me if I could look back at several episodes that I never gotten around to doing a full blog on. So, for today's episode, we're gonna go way back to the special where Sophia's story officially began. Airing on television on November 18th, 2012, the special is Sophia the First, Once Upon a Princess. So, let's get started. When her mother, Miranda, marries the King of Enchantia, King Roland II, Sophia becomes a member of the royal family overnight and moves into their grand palace. She attends a preparatory school under the tutelage of the three good fairies, Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather, in order to train for her new role as a princess. With the help of the magical Amulet of Avalor, which enables her to talk to animals, and a special appearance from Princess Cinderella, Sophia adjusts to her new surroundings and tries to form a strong and close bond with her initially reluctant stepsister Amber. So, what do I personally think of this pilot? Well, despite the fact that I never saw it on TV, after getting it on DVD, I thought it was a decent special, and it made great promise for the show that followed. And to further explain why I enjoyed this pilot, let's move on to Mustang notes. The director of the pilot was Jamie Mitchell, who also served as the executive producer, and Craig Gerber was the show's writer, creator, story editor, and producer. Fun fact, Nancy Cantor, a writer at Disney Junior, first approached Gerber to come up with an idea for a children's show revolving around a princess during her childhood. He was determined to give a modern spin on the classic fairy tale element of the pitch, thus creating Sophia the First. When Gerber was stuck in traffic while driving in Los Angeles, he immediately looked back at his childhood and found inspiration from his own home life to create a show with a family that many children could identify with. Growing up in a step family, he wanted to emulate how normal this type of situation for people is. He provides the young princess with a stepsister, stepbrother, and stepdad, something that is a new territory for her. Gerber's then 3-year-old son, Miles, was also an influence for him, constantly making believe, sometimes even as a princess, which led him to provide a character that he could relate to. Upon its airing, the special garnered about 8.17 million viewers, which made it the #1 cable TV telecast of all time for children ages 2 to 5 and girls 2 to 5. It also set a record for the #1 preschool cable TV telecast ever in total viewers and for adults ages 18 to 49. Now let's talk about the animation. And in my opinion, the CGI animation by Toei Animation is surprisingly good, And it almost reminds me of the CGI from today's Disney animated movies like Tangled, Frozen, Bolt, and more. Also, I think the kingdom of Enchantia is a very enchanting kingdom, and I think the castle is designed very beautifully. Also, as I stated back in 2017, Royal Prep is a great school for young princes and princesses. And I also like that Princess Aurora's aunts, the three good fairies, are in charge of the school. Also to note, the moral of this pilot is that everybody deserves a second chance. Now, before I go any further, let me give you folks a little recap on the history of the Amulet of Avalor. Almost 4 decades before the show started, Princess Elena was given the amulet by her mother, Queen Lucia. But one day, an evil sorceress named Shariki invaded the kingdom and destroyed Elena's parents. But when Shariki tried to kill Elena, the amulet saved her by sucking her inside. So, after the royal wizard Alcazar put Elena's sister Isabel and her grandparents safely inside an enchanted painting, he's been searching for years trying to find a princess who can free Elena. Also, Elena has been giving every princess who wore the amulet powers and curses until it found its way to Enchantia. And in this pilot, the very first power that Elena grants to Sophia from the amulet was the ability to talk to animals as a reward for helping a baby bird back into its nest. By the way, that scene was very sweet and touching. The musical score for the special was composed by Kevin Kleisch, hope I'm pronouncing that right, who also composed music from Elena of Avalor and Tangled the series. And the songs were written and composed by John Kavanagh, who's best known for creating music for Disney's theme parks. Now, like most Disney material, music plays a very important role in Sophia the First, and in my opinion, the songs in this show can range from emotional to comical to upbeat to show-stopping and spectacular. The first song in the special is called I'm Not Ready to Be a Princess, sung by Sophia after getting shown to her bedroom suite. This song is basically a ballad where Sophia confesses that she doesn't feel ready to be a princess with all the new stuff and a new family that surrounds her. In my eyes, this is a song that I can easily relate to because whenever I was introduced to something new in my life, like a new school, a new group, or a new age of growing up, I usually get scared and nervous, but thankfully, I got used to it with some help from a few good friends. Next we come to the Royal Prep song, sung by the three good fairies, while they give Sophia a tour of the school. Now, I know I already talked about the graduation version during my blog of Forever Royal, but to me, this version feels reminiscent to a traditional classic Disney feature film with some Broadway style. Also, I like when the fairies introduce Sophia to several classes like etiquette, magic, art, fencing, and dancing. Plus, I like when the song is accompanied by marching armor statues and several students like Xandar, Hugo, June, Hildegard, Cleo, and others. Next is A Little Bit of Food, sung by Sophia's animal friends, Clover, Mia, Robin, and whatnot. Now, this has got to be one of my favorite songs in the entire special, and I think it's very interesting. Not only is it a fun, upbeat song, but it also explains why woodland creatures have been helping princesses over the years. You know, before I ever saw this special, I've always been kind of curious as to why animals have been helping princesses, and at first, I thought it was because of their kindness or their pure hearts. The last song to talk about is True Sisters, sung by the show's first Disney princess guest star, Cinderella. To me, this is the most important and touching song in the entire special, due to it explaining the true meaning of sisterly love and friendship. by telling a story of Cinderella's strained relationship with her stepsisters, Anastasia and Drizella. And to me, this song brings back memories from the Cinderella trilogy. Plus, it also explains how Sophia should be true sisters with Amber by making amends. Anyway, now that we're done with Mustang notes, animation, and songs, let's move on to the characters and the voice actors who brought them to life. Our main character, Princess Sofia, is voiced by Ariel Winter, best known for voicing a young Kyrie in the Kingdom Hearts games, young Trixie in Speed Racer, Smurf Lily in Smurfs The Lost Village, a couple of Thumper's sisters in Bambi 2, and Penny Peterson in Mr. Peabody and Sherman. Now, we all know that Sophia came from a commoner's background, growing up with her mother in a shoe shop in the village of Dunwich, and of course, she lost her biological father sometime prior. Anyway, after becoming a princess overnight, Sophia feels nervous and scared while being new to the royal life. But thankfully, after everything that happens, Sophia learns that behaving like a princess can only come from the heart. Plus, I think Princess Elena made the right choice in choosing Sophia as the Amulet of Avalor's wearer. Also note, I think Ariel Winter's Rise and Shine song during the end credits is such an enchanting song to listen to. Sophia's mother, Queen Miranda, is voiced by Sarah Ramirez. In my eyes, Miranda is a warm and caring woman who deeply loves her daughter Sophia, and she's happy to become Amber and James's new mother. Also, I think Miranda is encouraging and supportive of Sophia, always there to lift her spirits whenever she is feeling down or nervous, concerning the expectations she has to meet as a princess, and she has great intuition, able to sense when something is bothering her daughter, and she's also shown to not take kindly to people hurting her. Miranda gives her motherly advice concerning whatever Sophia is striving to accomplish or is faced with, and she's always proud of her. Plus, Miranda definitely has a strength of character, as she accepted the position, title, and duties of a queen, despite having originally been a humble shoemaker, and thus far has not appeared to be daunted by her royal duties. Next is Sophia's stepdad, King Roland II, voiced by Travis Willingham, whom I remember as Foreteller Aced from Kingdom Hearts Key. To me, Roland is regal and imposing, yet kind and welcoming. He cares not for background, but rather for character, seeing as he married Miranda for true love, and he was happy that Sophia accepted him as her new father. Plus, I like Roland's sense of humor, and I like that he's helpful and insightful. Plus, I thought the scene where he gave Sophia the Amulet of Avalor was absolutely touching, and I also thought it was nice when he told Sophia that the kingdom will be having a royal ball in her honor. Next we come to Sophia's stepsister, Princess Amber, voiced by Darcy Rose Byrons, best known from Desperate Housewives, The Legend of Korra, and of course, Spirit Riding Free. Now, we all know that Amber and James were both born when Roland wished for a family via a magic wishing well. And, of course, Amber is the oldest out of the royal twins. And she's also first in line to inherit the throne. However, in this pilot, Amber starts out cold, spoiled, bratty, and envious when Sophia becomes her new sister, and she can also be very manipulative when she tricked James into taking Sophia on the Enchanted Swing set. And I thought the part where Amber gave Sophia trick dance shoes was absolutely unforgivable. However, I did like when Sophia and Amber made amends after she admitted her wrongdoings, and I also liked when Amber helped Sophia by fighting off against Wormwood and of course teaching Sophia how to waltz. Next up is Sophia's stepbrother, Prince James, voiced by Zach Callison. Now, as I stated before, I like James more than Amber due to his helpful, kind, and humble personality. Plus, James is more down to earth and adaptable to changing circumstances. However, there are times during the show where James can let his playfulness and curiosity get him in trouble. Anyway, in this pilot, despite the fact that he was tricked to humiliate Sophia with the enchanted swing set, I like the part where James helps Sophia pour a cup of tea and with preparations for her upcoming ball. Next we have the castle steward, Bailiwick, voiced by Tim Gunn. To me, this character is very dutiful and organized, and he's also sometimes a bit of a stiff, but at the same time, he's nice and patient. He's also given advice and guidance to Sophia over the course of the show, not just because it's his job, but also because he is kind and fond of the new princess. Next is Cedric the Sorcerer, voiced by Jess Harnell, best known as Wacko Warner from the Animaniacs series. After noticing that Sophia was wearing the Amulet of Avalor, Cedric starts plotting to steal it in order to overthrow King Roland. In my eyes, even though Cedric does become a redeeming character way later in the show, he seems like a bumbler when he can't do certain spells correctly, and he can sometimes be a tad rude and annoyed when Sophia mispronounces his name as Cedric. But thankfully, that gag comes to a stop in season 2 onwards. Also, I kinda liked when Cedric gave Sophia a tour of his workshop and when he explains how her amulet works. However, to me, his most devious act in this pilot is when he gives Sophia a dancing spell, which was in reality a sleeping spell, in order to blackmail her into giving him the amulet. Fortunately, that plan backfires when Cedric gets caught in the spell himself. Next we have Wormwood, Cedric's pet raven, voiced by Jim Cummings, who also voices Royal Prep's dance teacher, Professor Popov. Anyway, in my eyes, Wormwood is a very proud and a snide character, and he seems reminiscent to a couple Disney ravens, including Diablo from Sleeping Beauty. Also, Wormwood seems very devoted to his master, but he's more cynical and level-headed than Cedric. Also, there are times when this nasty bird serves as a guard dog when someone enters Cedric's workshop unannounced. Next we come to Sophia's best friends from Dunwitty Village, Ruby and Jade, voiced by Isabella Akers and Fiona Bishop. Now, these two girls were Sophia's closest friends before she ever became royalty, and to me, they seem fun and spunky. Also, I like the scene where they visit Sophia at the royal gazebo. Plus, for some reason, they're smitten with Prince James. Next we come to Sophia's animal friends. Clover, voiced by Wayne Brady, Mia and Robin, voiced by Ashley Eckstein and Megan Strange, and Whatnot the Squirrel, voiced by nobody. Anyway, while Clover does stick out more than the rest of these animals, I think these critters are great supporting characters, like when they help Sophia get dressed and help with her chores. Also, later in the pilot, they help her fight off against Wormwood. Another thing to mention about them is that some time ago, they used to help Amber with her room. Next we come to Princess Aurora's aunts, the three good fairies, Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather, voiced by Barbara Derrickson, the late Rusty Taylor, and Trez McNeil. These three fairies serve as the pilot's narrator, as well as Royal Prep's headmistresses. Not only do they give Sophia a tour and an orientation of their school, but they also show Sophia and the rest of their students the ways of the Royal Highnesses that they'll one day become. Finally, we have the pilot's guest star, Princess Cinderella, voiced by the beautiful and talented Jennifer Hale. Now, Cinderella is the very first Disney princess that is summoned by Sophia's amulet, courtesy of Princess Elena. In this pilot, after Sophia accidentally puts everybody in the ballroom to sleep, Cinderella explains that whenever Sophia is in trouble, the amulet will summon one of several past princesses to help her. She also tells Sophia that the best way to solve her problem is to make amends with her stepsister Amber. And now, let's move on to my final words. Overall, Sophia the First, Once Upon a Princess, is a well-put TV pilot to a great Disney cartoon show. And like I said previously, it's not just a show that little kids can enjoy. It's also something that older audiences might like, especially since mostly everybody loves Disney. The animation is great, the voice acting is spot on, the story is charming and touching, the main character Sophia is cute and fun, and I think she and Amber make great sisters together. The supporting characters are adorable and funny, and Cedric is pretty much a bumbling villain, though he does have some good moments. So, I don't know when this pilot will be added to Disney Plus, but at least the rest of the show can be found on Netflix. However, I think you viewers should watch this movie first if you want to properly introduce your family and your children to Sophia the First. As for my rating, I'll give this pilot a 92% out of 100. Well, that's all for now. Be sure to join me next time where I look into a musical Kingdom Hearts game, Mustang Power.